Hi guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create this cute heart pendant and how to create this interesting technique on the side. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have actually figured out how to do this before watching the tutorial. If you did, let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to know if any of you were able to figure out from just the photos alone. But for those of you who have not, this is actually Pebeo paint on liquid clay. It's a really interesting effect, and that is what I'm going to show you how to do today. So you're going to need Kato liquid clay. As far as I know, this only really works with the Kato liquid clay. You can use any colour you want, but personally white looks the best. So you're going to need some white Kato liquid clay. And of course some Pebeo paints in any colour you want. It does have to be the Prism Pebeo paints though, so no moon or any other variations. And you're also going to need a little white tile. Okay, now the colours that I used in this project over here were Prism Turquoise and Prism Bluish Pink. But I'm not going to be using those colours today, we've already used them in one project. Today I'm going to be using Pebeo Prism Violet and Pebeo Prism Leaf. And these are the colours. Again, any colour you want will work. So first step is to take our white liquid clay, and again, Kato liquid clay. Sculpey seems a little bit too thick for this to work. We're going to pour a fairly decent amount onto our tile. And the reason we're doing it on this tiny little tile is because it's easily transportable into the oven. Whereas if I did it on my big tile here, which actually does not fit in the oven, I would have to use a heat gun. And it just doesn't really work out as well when you use a heat gun, because it blows everything around. Okay. There we go, so just spread it out, and I tried to spread it into a rough square shape because it just makes it a lot easier to use later on. And it probably needs to be about, probably about 1/2 millimeter thick, I'd say. Just a decent amount of liquid clay on there. Put that to the side, that will level out while we're doing our next step. Open up your Pebeo Prism paint, and the more fluid the paint, the quicker the effect will work. And if it's a little bit old, you might find that the effect is a little bit stunted, but it should work with just about any Pebeo paint. So just take a stick and mix this thoroughly. It needs to be thoroughly mixed for it to work, because we want all of the chemicals to interact with the liquid clay and create our interesting bloomed effect. Okay, so you can see that's pretty well mixed. Just clean this up. Okay, allow me to just wipe that off for a second, and then we will repeat the same thing with the leaf Pebeo paint. Quickly mix that up, and then we can apply it to our liquid clay. Okay, so now we're ready to start. Bring this over, and I'm going to start with the leaf because that is the colour that I want to be the most dominant, I guess. We'll just dip a little bit of that on our stick. Drop that in. You really need a really small droplet. You don't need a lot. You can instantly see the effect starting to play out. And again, try it with older paints, it should work as well. It's just going to be a little bit slower. So with the newer paints, I would leave this after applying all of the Pebeo paint, probably around 5 minutes. If it's older paint, you may need to leave it a little longer. Okay, and you can see some of these drops are a little bit smaller than others, some a bit larger, all adding to the bloom effect. And again, use very little of the actual Pebeo paint. It's quite cost effective. Okay, then we're going to take a bit of our purple, make sure to wrap that around the stick so it doesn't spread the wrong way. Drip that in. Okay, now the leaf is a little bit newer than the purple, so you should be able to see that the purple takes a little bit longer to spread than the leaf colour. Just dab that throughout, and then once I'm finished doing this, I will show you what it looks like. There we go. Now just give this a little bit of time to spread out and do its thing. You can put that to the side, leave it for about 5 minutes, and it should come back looking very different. Okay, so here's this one 5 minutes later. You can see it's bloomed into something really quite interesting. And here's one I did just a few moments ago, and you can see the difference it makes leaving it a little while. So this one, I just wanted to experiment a little bit. This one's a bit deeper than this one is, so we'll bake both of them and we will see how they turn out after they've been resting about 10 minutes. And we'll see whether having your liquid clay a little bit deeper, about 1 millimeter thick instead of about 1/2 millimeter thick, makes that much of a difference after we are finished here. Because I'm not sure if you could pick up on the camera here, but the Pebeo paint, once dripped in, actually makes a divot in the liquid clay. It almost spreads out and causes that liquid clay to disperse to the edges. And so if your liquid clay is not deep enough, you're going to find that the Pebeo paint was straight on your tile, and it can make lifting it up a bit difficult. So it just, even if you are having trouble with that, something that you could do is to put a layer of white liquid clay down, bake that, put another layer of white liquid clay down, put the Pebeo paint on top, and that way you've got a guaranteed layer of liquid clay at the bottom. I've never had trouble, but I know that some of you end up having trouble like this, so just keep that in mind. You can do that after the first try if you're having a bit of trouble, or if you're just worried about wasting the liquid clay and you don't want to take the risk. So anyway, you can see this changing before your eyes. So I'm going to just leave this about another 5 minutes, and I will put it into the oven for a full hour at Cato's recommended temperature. And you're going to notice that it smells a bit, so you definitely want to have all the windows open to air it out. But the liquid clay, the Pebeo paint won't burn. It will change colour a little bit, but it shouldn't burn. So bake it for a full hour, and then when it's done, I will show you what it looks like. Okay, and here are the two out of the oven. So you can see there is a bit of a difference in the colour now compared to what it was when it first went in. The purple's gone quite a bit more pink, whereas the green has not changed all that much. And also, this is the one that I showed the second time around, where it's got a bit of a thicker layer of liquid clay, versus the one that has a thinner layer of liquid clay. So you can see there is a bit of a difference there. This one comes out a lot lighter than this one. So completely up to you. Now, you should be able to touch it, and it might be slightly sticky, but you shouldn't have anything coming away on your fingers. Let's see, yeah, it's not coming away. Right, so now we're going to lift them up. Now this is the one that I said might be a little bit too shallow. This is the 1/2 millimeter thick one, whereas the other one is 1 millimeter thick of liquid clay anyway. So let's see if it is too thin. Or very gently lifting it up. Okay, and you can see that I'm lifting it up slowly in a circular movement. You do not want to just pull this thing straight up. Okay, and now the best way to do this is to hold it up to the light and see if there are any empty spots. And if I look, the only one is over here. Hopefully you can see there's a spot. If you run your hand over the bottom of this, you can see there's no other spots. So this is definitely thick enough, but you can see from the back here, it's only just thick enough. So if you want something that's a little bit more, if you want something to ensure that it is thick enough, go with about 1 millimeter thick piece of liquid clay before you put the Pebeo paint on. So you can see they're much thicker, much better. Okay, and there we go. So now we are ready to just pop those off to the side, and we are going to start on the mica shift that goes with it. So here's the mica shift, and you're also going to need a pebble stamp, and this one's been dusted lightly with some cornstarch. I'm just going to press this in, and this is fairly deep, so I'm not going to press too hard because I don't want it to be quite as deep as the actual texture I have here. I want it to be a little bit shallower. And you can use any texture you want, any metallic clay you want, completely up to you, just something that matches with your Pebeo paint. Okay. Give it a very quick roll from one end to the other end, I should be able to lift that up from the sides. Okay. Now you can see I pressed fairly shallow because I don't want it to be too deep. So that is not how deep that texture is. It's quite a bit deeper actually. I don't want it to be too deep. Trim away these sides that are distraction essentially. Now you get yourself a nice thin flexible blade. And then I'm just going to start shaving lightly over the surface. And I'm using Pebeo silver clay. Cernit works the best, but if you don't have Cernit, you can easily replace it with just the Pebeo clay, like I have here. The reason the Cernit's best is because it has a very nice mica shift. It's very deep and beautiful. So if you have Cernit, definitely use Cernit. If you don't, Pebeo works just fine. Okay. And you're just shaving off the surface. You're revealing the mica shift underneath. And there we go. Now just use a piece of clay to just scoop up all these silver bits, and you can reuse this again because it is essentially all one piece of clay. Now, if you have not done a mica shift before, check out my website jessimatutorials.com.au and you should be able to find my mica shift tutorial, and it goes into depth on how to do this technique for if you don't already know how to do it. So just thought I'd let you know. Now you just take a piece of paper and you'll just burnish this so that you flatten it out completely without distorting the image. I would not use your roller. If I were you, just use your fingers, apply a fair amount of pressure, and you should smooth this out in no time. Let's check. There should be no holes. I can see there's a few holes here still. There we go, that's pretty smooth. And this is our mica shift that we are going to use. So now that's ready to use, pop that to the side. We will use that in just a moment. You can see how pretty that looks. It looks better after it's been baked too, I might add. So now our next step is going to be to decide which one of these we would like to use for our pendant. That is if you're only making one. This one is a lot more busy, whereas this one has a lot more space. I think personally I'm going to go with this one, but any one of these would work. I'm going to go with this one though, because I like the space. Now, you want to flip that upside down so that you don't ruin your pattern. I just want to decide whereabouts I'm going to take it out before I flip it. Flip that, and I want to take it out roughly about there. So now grab some ink, or even a black marker will work, and just tap the ink pad of any kind. Doesn't matter what ink pad you're using. You can use a black marker to run it along the edge here. You just want to colour the sides of your cutter like that. Lay it down where you want to cut out and press thoroughly. And just go around and make sure you press thoroughly because you want to get that ink all over. Now you might need to do a little bit of touch up, so I'm just going to bring out another marker. I'm just going to see if I can get a little bit of a touch up going there, just so that I know exactly where to put my where to cut. Okay. And there should be enough ink to tell you where to just pop this stuff down. And this is why I'm doing it on the back, because you don't want that on the front, because you will ruin your Pebeo paint texture, because you can't rub that with alcohol to remove ink. So there we go. And you might be able to see it a little bit from the front here, there and there, but it won't damage it in any way. You'll be able to wipe off the back. So now again, just like last time, cut that out. pop this onto the scrap pile. You can use that for mosaics, just about anything you want. Lots of ways you can use that. Okay, and now you might see here, if I've shown the back here, they're chipped just a little bit over here. Especially since it was the middle of the Pebeo paint here, it was a very tight angle and sometimes it can chip. This is a very delicate piece of clay, so just keep in mind that it might do that. Don't feel discouraged when that happens. It does sometimes happen. Another way to do that, just going to gently cut down the center like so, and it won't be very noticeable in the finished piece, so do not fret about it. There we go. And now you have enough to make two pieces, and you can see there that is almost unnoticeable. And I've got a little bit of something over there, so let me just grab wet wipe with no alcohol on it. Just gently dab there. And I'll check on the back, see if I can wipe off the excess there too. Repeat with this one. Just see about wiping away as much of that excess as possible. Okay, and then choose the side that you want. And I think I'm probably going to go with this one. You can use that one to make another pendant whenever you want. Okay, now we're going to bring over our piece, and what we're going to do is just going to find the best spot for this. Just bring this over and make sure that there's enough space to cut out. Rest, yes, okay. Then just gently tap that down, and I just want to do a test quickly before I go and burnish this. I want to just touch that, see if it removes anything, and it doesn't. Okay. Now we're just going to burnish that onto our mica shift, just to set it in place. So that we don't feel that seam anymore. Okay, lift that up, and there we go, you can see it's pretty well burnished in. Gently smooth along these sides to get rid of that seam. Okay, and I might want to burnish it just a touch more, just to make sure that that is set properly in there. And now have this on a piece of paper as a backing, as well as the one that you're burnishing on, so see, like a paper sandwich, because you're going to be baking this on that piece of paper so that your backing is nice and smooth. Okay, and then one last thing, I'll just use a roller to gently roll across once or twice, just to even it out. Okay, and use your finger to gently smooth that clay up against the liquid clay, and that will just soften that line. Okay. Then grab this and position it in the right position, like so. Then press. Just make sure you give it a good press whole way around. And lift. Now I don't actually want it sticking in my cutter, it might do that a little. So just press on the baked part. Lift this up, you can now put that back in your silver pile. Okay. Now I'm just checking this to make sure that I'm happy with it. You will need to smooth along the sides of it. And I've just lifted that up a tiny bit, just to snip off this little dragging piece here. There. Okay, and just use your knife to just smooth along these edges, get rid of any straggly bits that might be sitting along the edge before you bake it. And then when you're done with that, bake this for about 40 minutes at Premo's recommended temperature, because we're baking it on Premo. And you should have a beautiful pendant that we're just going to gently smooth the edge of, and then we can apply some resin and it will look very pretty. Okay, and here it is out of the oven. You can see the back's nice and smooth. We do need to tend a little bit to the sides though. I'm just going to grab a craft knife and I'm just going to get rid of this scrappy bits that are along the side here, like so. It just takes a little bit of scraping and they should come right off. Okay, and now to do the sides you can either use some soft silver clay if you don't have silver liquid clay. If you have silver liquid clay, it's definitely the easiest way to go about it. So I'm going to show it with the liquid clay. Basically you either smear normal clay along the sides or you can smear liquid clay along the sides. So I'm using Sculpey Silver. Now this is quite thick, so I'm just busy getting it to the mouth of my jar. Almost there. Okay, we're just about there. And now what we're going to do is we are going to fill in these little bits over here that don't look completely smooth. There we go. So just take this and very gently squeezing, you're going to almost pipe this mixture along the side. And then just smooth that onto the surface and try to fill in all the gaps, and we can tidy up afterwards. And this is why using silver is good, because everything else really other than the liquid clay is silver, so if you get a little bit of spillage along the sides it's really no big deal. And it's just essentially being used as a grouting to fill in these parts where the Pebeo paint is showing and has not completely bonded with the clay. Now I'll just actually use my craft knife just to smooth that bit out. Okay, and I just want to do it on that side, and I also want to do it on the tip here. Okay, then when we're done, just gently smooth it into this side. This side's fine, we don't need to put any grouting along that side. Now all you want to do is take a wet wipe, just some sort of a rag, wrap that around your finger, and then smooth off the excess liquid clay, like so. Very easy and quick. It's easier to do it with the liquid clay than it is to do it with just normal clay. Okay, and then you'll just bake that for about 15 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature, and then our sides will be all done and we can get on to applying our resin. Okay, so here it is out of the oven and we're just about ready to put the resin on now. So you can give this a light sand, and I might actually do that quick before we do the resin because it will just clear it up a bit and make the image much clearer where we do put the resin on. So just grab some 400 grit sandpaper and just sand it quickly. Okay, try not to sand your liquid clay part as best you can. There we go. Then I'm just going to move up to 600. This will be very quick, I'm not going to go all the way up, you don't need it to be a perfect polish. I'm just going to go up to 600 and that should be fine. Okay, there we go. Now we are going to bring over our resin mitt. Pop that on, and I'm using Lisa Babelka's Magic Gloss. This is a UV resin, so you're going to need a UV lamp for it. And what it will do is it will set within half an hour, whereas if you use some two-pot resins such as ice resin, although they are cheaper, so if you're on a budget they're a good idea, they do take about 24 hours to set. So there we go. Hopefully there you can see the difference there that the resin's made. So now I'm just going to quickly spread that out. And you don't want to add too much resin, add a little bit. spread it out, and then if you need to add more, then you can add more. Magic gloss in particular, more often than not you're going to end up needing to add more because it likes to dome to a really nice rounded dome, which requires a fair amount of resin. But you always want to start off with a small amount of resin, because if you get spills, you're in for a bit of a pain for the ride. So just start off with a small amount of resin, work it around. If you see that it's pulling away from the edges, then you can add more. However, I think we have just enough on here. Just making sure to cover up this edge here. Okay, and then I'll put that in the UV light for about half an hour. Okay, and so this is out of the UV lamp, all ready to go. So you can see, nice and smooth, didn't get any spills around the edge. We did pick up a little bit of a residue on the back, so if you do have that, just take a wet wipe and gently rub that off. Should be pretty easy to do. There we go. Now we are ready to drill our hole so that we can pop our bale in. Now you need to decide whether you want to hang it straight, which is the way I would like to do, or if you want to hang it maybe like that, from the side, like that, completely up to you. But I want to drill right here in the center here. So just pop that in with your drill and begin drilling. And then just drill up and down a few times, just to make sure that that hole is nice and clean and easy to access. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to grab a nice big jump ring, open it up, and I'm just going to feed that through. Now it can be a little on the tricky side to get this through, so just bear with me. I'll get it through, and maybe I'll show you once I've got it through, because it could be a bit tricky. There we go, got it in. It can be a little bit tricky to work in, but you should be able to do it. Okay, now I am going to bring over my bale. So let's see what choice of bale do I have here. Bear with me for a moment. Here we go. There we go. I'm just going to take this, open it up enough so that I can slide my bale on, and close that up again. There we go. And I like to slide that opening in to the hole so that you can't see it. And there we go, we've got our pendant ready to string. Now I have a ready-made rubber cord here, and I just want to see if I can slide it through. Actually, to make it easier, let me just take this jump ring off. You can use any necklace type you want, but I really like the look of these rubber cords. There we go, let's see if I can slide that through. I should just be able to. There we go, just work that through. Then I'll just attach that jump ring again. And there we go, easy. And there we go, that's just about it. Now keep in mind that you can do just about anything with this technique that I have shown here. You can make pendants as I've shown here. You can make any type of pendant you want. This is just the one that I have tried out. You can do any shape pendant. You can pair it with any technique you want to. You can also do different colours of Pebeo paint, but then you can do earrings, you can do coasters, you can do jars, bracelets, lots of things. So play around with it and have fun, most importantly. It's a really fun technique to play around with. So if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments below, and if you have any questions, also let me know, because you probably might run into a few problems, and if you do, please let me know and I'll try to help you out as best I can. And if you liked it, let me know, as that's always helpful. And if you would like more liquid clay tutorials like this, let me know, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.